Comments, you can call us now at 261-0898 or pound 981 on any C Spire device. Our email is newsradiomornings@gmail.com.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
And good Friday morning. It is 7:16, 16 minutes after 7 o'clock. Ed Tibbett, of course, Michael Paul, always welcoming in our buddy, Gene Valentino.
And a very good morning to you, Gene. I'll tell you something. I never see you dress up like this.
Well, I just had the itch. I think I needed to just you don't have a shirt and tie on, and neither do I, so that's okay.
That's right. Well, I got my WMXI shirt on this morning, which is a pretty casual shirt, but so you're looking nice. There's a lot going on in the world. We've got this debt ceiling limit that supposedly is going to be hit coming up. It looks like they say around June the 1st, which could be, there's always money coming into the government. Every day they get, millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars. And so, maybe it's not as big a deal as we think it is, but it is a pretty serious thing for the United States to make sure that they keep their credit good. And, the markets get a little scary. They flutter a little bit, but they do that all the time anyway. Things will come back. They got to get something fixed. What are your takeaways this week on that?
The takeaway on the market, the budget, and fiscal first. We have gone too far now. This is a historic difference from the debt ceiling climbing in the past. Every time the debt ceiling climbed in the past, what happened? We found a way of paying the debt and the bill that year. What's happening now is that the debt is so egregious that it is becoming unable to be paid down. That's why Kevin McCarthy is staunchly behind the notion of cutting spending. Regardless of the increase in revenue coming in, we must reduce spending. So the $10 million question is, Michael, why are not the Democrats accommodating such an obvious thing to do? Why must we continue to spend more?
Let me ask you this. So why can't they just agree to just free spending? They can't even agree to that, I don't think.
That's right. Yeah, we are in for a radical change in what I think the bigger issue is. You asked me my takeaways. I think we're going to be forced to balance this budget. Otherwise, there'll be so much of their own. These politicians with their investments are going to lose a ton of money. My God, Bud Light has lost over $15 billion, Budweiser, because of their messing around with these social issues. And I think what's happening is that we just have to reach a sense of practicality in the way we look at the way we manage our fiscal affairs. Here's the takeaway that I see this week. I see that if we don't establish a rule for the removal of bad officials, elected or appointed, we can't wait for their term to expire anymore. We must have a process that allows us to immediately impeach or terminate. And here's the $10 million issue. We must penalize these elected officials. We must put them in jail. We must sanction them or penalize them for things that they have done or not done. It's not right that we walk away from the conversation and say, well, in the next election, I'll vote him out. It's too long. We can't wait for the next election. The guy did wrong now. Let's get rid of him now. And that's what the backdrop is on everything we're seeing in government in terms of the managing of the dysfunction and malfeasance of the Biden crime family.
Let me tell you, there is also a move afoot to talk about that on a whole different subject. Yesterday, the strangest thing, I got one of these Facebook surveys, and I always do it, right? I always take it. And the reason why I always take it is because I want to be the guy who's the conservative guy who answers their questions. This was all about impeaching Clarence Thomas for, all these things that they were talking about, how he has taken money from donors. Well, first of all, people donate to campaigns all the time. You can be friends, especially a Supreme Court justice. You can be friends with anybody, right? Because
that's right.
You don't get money from those guys. And not only that, but the Supreme Court is sort of it's a whole different branch of government, and they haven't realized this. But I think there is a move afoot to try to impeach Clarence Thomas for some BS. But I don't know that they have the votes. It's got to start in the Congress, right? They don't have the votes right. But I'm telling you, when I read that, and they would say, he's done this, he's done this, he's done this, he's done this. What do you think about this? And I just wrote on there, I disagree with your premise. Yeah. And I'm a great survey taker because I read those questions and I understand what they're trying to do with these surveys. And I'm pretty sure because they ask a lot of questions about transgenders, which is a whole other subject that's going on wide open this week. Target backlash. They've moved some items from the front of their store to the back of their store ahead of Pride Month because of outrage from parents, from regular folks. And, I guess they're going to make it up by having a sale on Bud Light.
There are so many different stories that are catching the 6 o'clock news this last 2 years that you'd be foolish not to see the reality that something's got to change. Look, last week, a poll done even by the CNN crowd shows that 63% of Americans are worried about Biden not being able to handle the job. That's his capability medically, physically. What about the actual wrongdoing that's in your face? Are you telling me you're going to talk about it? And I say this rhetorically to you. Are you going to talk to me about impeaching Clarence Thomas when the evidence shows so clearly that the Biden crime family has received actual millions of dollars of deposits? Devin Nunes, former head of national intelligence, and others, James Comer, are coming forward showing reports that show that the Biden crime family has actually received millions of dollars from Ukraine, from Russia, from China. And here we are and here's right under our nose something that's even more crazy. I don't understand why we don't take an immediate action. Again, I seek a constitutional amendment to have us be able to move more quickly when there's wrongdoing done by elected officials with penalties. Since Joe Biden came into office, over 7.5 million illegal immigrants. I don't call them migrants. They're illegals. Here's the sad part of that story. 85,000 missing children have been allegedly involved in child trafficking. They disappeared off the radar in the illegal migration into the country. And here's the money side. Talk about budget. You just talked about the budget. $12 billion of taxpayer money has been spent, $3 billion last year alone on unaccompanied children programs here coming into the United States. We paid over $18,000 per unaccompanied child in the last 12 months. However, the average cost in Texas to educate a child, K through 12, $9,800 per student. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. I mean, that shouldn't look. We know now. We know that money does not solve social issues. We know that. We know that spending more money on students doesn't mean that you're going to get a better student. What we need are better teachers. We need better. What we need to do in schools is go back to reading, writing, and arithmetic. Right? That's the simple things that help you to be a good citizen, know what's going on in the world. I mean, maybe we could teach some history, like state history. We used to get that when we were in school, state history, American history, all of those things. We got that. I'm not sure they're doing that. But you know what? Earlier today, I thought about what you have said so many times. All of the things that are going on today, all of the things you hear in the news, all of this transgender, LGBTQ, rainbow, whatever, it's all to distract us, to deflect away from the problems that those guys in Washington are having, and they don't want you to think about that.
Let's get nasty on Donald Trump because Joe Biden, am screwing up so badly. Do you really think Joe Biden sitting in the basement is going to be a clear win for Biden? Do you really think the American people are so stupid, even if they admit, whether they admit they made a mistake or not? Do you think the American people now are so stupid as to think that more of the same is okay? We are on the verge of collapse if we don't do something. I have greater faith in the American people. There's a power in the spirit of the people in this nation. And we've got Memorial Day coming up, Michael, and I'm making an extra earnest effort this time to be proud of my American heritage, proud of my flag, and to sit down with a hand across my heart and thank those Americans who died for us or came home injured to save our democracy up to now. Let's get back on board. Let's revitalize the military and put them in the position that the educational system isn't doing, to start to train and create incentives and disciplines and motivations and priorities of pride in America, family, and our faith, and that we have the freedom to talk, whether it's on a radio show or a podcast or wherever, the freedom to not worry about our commentary being blemished or censored because they didn't like the tone of it affecting one interest over another. It's so great to be able to talk with you about these things. I'm proud just that you and I have the chance to do this.
Yeah. So that brings up another subject. We got a couple of minutes left. We had one of our segments that we broadcast over the air. This is live radio, right? We had a segment. We recorded it. We put it on your website. And by the way, folks, you can go to GeneValentino.com and you can look at this all of the segments that we do on Fridays. Gene has them categorized and they're all on his website. You can listen again. But Google, I guess, or YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, YouTube.
They banned one of our talking subjects that we were talking about just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we the Durham report came out with some issues on a campaign I now will not reference for fear of being nixed here, but the Durham came out at what?
I said everybody can guess what that was.
Well, I'm not going any further because I don't want to be censored, but what a shame to have to couch my words for that purpose.
What a shame that we can't even talk about current events and opinions about how it came about without being banned on Google. I mean, it's horrible. This is terrible.
Well,
but you can go.
Yeah, that real quick. This is why I propose, and it's one of my second Bill of Rights, 11 amendments to the Constitution, and one of them addresses the ability for all of these social platforms to being responsible for what they include or exclude. And the right of free speech, but if you injure someone else, there's got to be a price to pay. In the same light, if you deny my free speech on these platforms, there's got to be a price to pay. And that should be something looked at in the modification, only be through the amendments to the Constitution, because as we can see, Michael, we can't trust these elected officials.
All right, that's the music. You made it just right today. Thank you, Gene Valentino, for joining us. We appreciate it. And we will be back with you again next Friday. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, brother.
You too, brother.